I have been following you for a number of years now, and I can't believe the growth that has happened in what seems like a short time from when I've been following. You probably put in years before. That's the way it always works. You look like an overnight success, but you put in 10 years building up to it. But you get like hundreds of pounds of food from Costco.
Yep.
You share posts. So
And
yes, everyone can follow Food Sharing Ottawa on Facebook and Instagram for sure. I think I follow
yep.
you both places there. And your
Mhm.
posts, the Costco posts, just melt my heart. It's hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food.
Yes. Or sometimes we'll go to Mamie Cafuzzi, or which is a bakery on Wellington that I adore for many reasons, or Cobb's Bakery, and we pick up 100 pounds of bread, and then we share that around. So we share it on Buy Nothing groups. We share it on our Share It, Don't Toss It, and we will actually just drive it up to places that could use it. So places that I would have never known about before. There are so many great services in the community. And anybody who, needs something and reaches out will recognize that there's all kinds of resources. And once you reach out to this resource, whoop, another one becomes available, and another door opens, and another door opens. And that's what we've been able to do, is kind of track and pin throughout the whole city all of these different great services helping our community, and accessing different communities that way. So our hope is to be able to widely distribute the food that we pick up. And we even go to Stittsville. I live in a community, actually not in the city anymore. I moved out to the country to start a little farm with my family, and we live in a small town called Quillon, and we consider this town as, well, it's considered a food desert, which means we don't have a grocery store. We have one gas station that sells some questionable foods. And many people in our community don't have vehicles and are working on a very, very low income. So we do have a very active food bank, and we have our community fridge that I'm able to put things in regularly. So what we're doing is taking whatever it is that's offered to us, and then trying to widely distribute it so that as many people can benefit as possible.
So we had a comment and then a question. I was slow on the comment. The comment goes back to, that's awesome, good for Costco. Many corporations won't do this. And then there's a question. But before that question, you had told me before, Brandy, about a lot of organizations think that they would be held legally responsible if any of the food that they gave to you was in fact, made anyone sick. But you told me that's not true, right? Is that
That's
right? I think
true.
that is such an important point that people need to know about this.
So why don't we have, so right now we have 50 volunteers approximately ready to do pickups. And of course, we're always looking for more volunteers to do different aspects of what we do, some of that public education, some of that volunteer coordination. And we are still approaching stores, and they will say, oh no, we've got a plan for it. Oh, we've got something else figured out, not interested. But very common, their response is, we don't want that legal responsibility. And there is a Good Samaritan law, is what it's called, that when they give away something like food that's past its best before date, they are no longer held responsible. But a lot of store owners don't realize that. And also, a lot of individuals don't realize that. And they're worried, what if I put something on my Buy Nothing or on the Share It, Don't Toss It, and then somebody, comes back and says, oh, that, I don't know, pear did this or whatever. And so we are not held responsible for wanting to do a good deed. The expectation is that we have a pure heart in that giving. And of course, nobody wants ill of somebody else if they're trying to share something nice. And so, but I do want to come back to that's awesome, good for Costco comment, because it seems really good. We're able to say Costco many times. Costco's doing this, and a whole lot of people hear this and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to support Costco more because they're doing this. But it isn't a corporate decision, right? So it very much has to do with an individual. And we don't do pickups of food from the whole store, just the produce department, and sometimes the bakery will contribute as well. And sometimes I'm scheduled for a pickup and I go and they're like, sorry, nothing today was set aside. And so I know that that day the food went into the landfill. It went into that big bin that they have at the back. And so why is it that some days they're giving, their food to be redistributed and other days they're not? Is because it takes more effort. And it has to be the staff people who are on board. If it's not coming from a corporate direction, it's because there's a staff person that is really, really committed. So I want to do a shout out to the Costco at Maryvale specifically, because they're the ones that are saving their produce and passing that along to us. And at some points we've had, that person was off sick, so nobody saved the food, or there was a change of staff and it took a while before we were able to convince that new staff person about what we were doing and how how easy it is for them to just put it aside in a cart. We'll pick it up. It takes them 2 minutes to make that transaction happen, and it does a lot of good for our community.
That is an excellent clarification. Yes. And so we still have more work to do talking about this, raising awareness to get more stores on board. The next question, well, there was a comment to that says, that makes sense, unfortunately.